When my driver's son brought an unknown girl home and told me to take care of her, a stream of comments flashed before my eyes. Yes, the male and female leads are both reborn, and they've met early. This time, they won't be held back by society for years. This sweet romance would be so much better without the evil supporting female character messing things up. The evil rich girl uses her father's position as a general to bully the male lead. She's never once been nice to him. That evil girl thinks her family is the only reason the male lead got ahead. She wants him to worship her without any dignity. But honestly, without her, he could have become a powerful and untouchable figure all on his own. The driver's son looked at me, the polite deference he usually showed me completely gone. In its place was an arrogant disdain, a greedy glint in his eyes like a predator. I was curious to see how a reborn duo, an adopted orphan, and a mysterious abandoned girl plan to rise through the ranks and become untouchable tycoons in this day and age. Nicholas sat on my living room sofa, opening a can of lychees for Amber and pouring them into my personal white porcelain bowl. He saw me staring at Amber and defensively shifted his body to block my view. "Beatrice, this is Amber, my girlfriend. From now on, you'll be taking care of her personally. She has delicate skin, so her bedding needs to be the finest European linen. She's not used to small rooms, so she'll be staying in yours. You can move out?" He brazenly unwrapped a bar of exclusive military-grade Swiss chocolate, handed it to Amber, and then shot me a look of disgust. "Beatrice, I'll still be by your side, but I will never love you. If you continue to support my rise to power with everything you have, I might just let you live." Amber leaned against Nicholas, as pliant as a vine. The shoes on her feet were the thick woolen slippers my father had brought back from a trip to Europe, especially for me. The comments before my eyes exploded with excitement. "Whoa, so dominant. He puts the rich girl in her place right from the start. Now, that's a real sweet romance. This double reborn setup is awesome. The evil girl won't get the chance to use her family's power to force the ML to marry her or to ruin the FL's reputation in a nightclub this time. In the last life, the evil girl forced the ML to study abroad in England for 4 years just to break them up. It was so tragic. Thank God when he returned, he found a powerful benefactor, destroyed the evil girl's family, and framed them for treason, so they could never recover. Reading those words, a vein throbbed in my temple. Nicholas sat up straighter, his posture infused with the confidence and nobility of his past life's power. "Mrs. Gable, peel me one of those heirloom pears, the ones freshly picked from the valley orchard." The comments scrolled wildly, and I finally understood. I was living in a historical romance novel, and the evil, spoiled, rich girl in the comments? That was me. According to the plot, Nicholas brings the homeless and destitute Amber back to my house for me to care for. They grow closer, and feelings blossom between them. I, unwilling to let my childhood friend be stolen away by Amber, begin a campaign of coercion and control. I use my family's wealth and power to elevate him, hoping he'll be indebted to me. I even use my connections to send him abroad to study, severing his ties with Amber. When Nicholas returns, he marries me, becoming the model husband in everyone's eyes. But in his heart, he never stops yearning for the one who got away. Meanwhile, Amber, without Nicholas's help, is forced to work in a nightclub to survive, losing her innocence in the process. Later, after finding a benefactor and gaining immense power, Nicholas sets Amber up in a life of luxury, spending every moment doting on her. He blames me for all the hardships she endured. He then conspires with outsiders to frame my family for treason, turning us into prisoners under investigation. By the time our names are cleared, my parents have died from the stress, and I am poisoned and killed by the two of them. They take my family's fortune, flaunt their wealth, and travel the world. During a trip to the coast, they both drown and are reborn. When they open their eyes, they are back on this very day, the day Nicholas first brought Amber to my home. My expression was cold. It was almost funny. An orphan adopted by my driver and a girl with no history to her name were going to turn my world upside down? The plot was utterly absurd. Nicholas, still believing he was the powerful son-in-law of the Wallace family, saw that our housekeeper, Mrs. Gable, hadn't moved. He snapped at me. "What's wrong with your family? Even your maids are this clueless." In response to his contempt, I slapped him across the face. "Who the hell do you think you are shouting in my house?" Amber shot me a venomous glare before turning to caress Nicholas' face, her voice dripping with concern. I never knew Miss Wallace was so spoiled and unreasonable. In that case, she's certainly not qualified to take care of me. She linked her arm through Nicholas, leaning into him like a delicate bird. "Don't lower yourself to her level by getting angry over a maid. We can just fire her and hire another. As for Miss Wallace, if she's going to be so difficult, we should just kick her out." She spoke as if she were the lady of the house. I had to laugh. "What makes you think you're worthy of my care, let alone living in my house? You're delusional. Mrs. Gable is my father's official aide, a salaried government employee under military jurisdiction. Not some maid you can order around as you please. Mrs. Gable, please dispose of anything these two vagrants have touched." Before I could finish, Nicholas tilted his head back, his tone dripping with arrogance. "Beatrice, you severely lack discipline. I'm going to have to teach you a lesson on your father's behalf." The comments were a flurry of surprise. Wait, why does the evil girl suddenly have a brain? Isn't she supposed to willingly take care of the heroine and be a stepping stone for the hero, completely subservient to him? Did the plot change? And why is the hero acting so high and mighty? He's just the driver's son living off their charity. She's just trying to get the hero's attention. Pathetic little tricks. Nicholas still looked utterly confident. "If you're going to be so undisciplined, then get out of this house." I couldn't help but laugh. Was Nicholas completely delusional? Kicking me out of my own home? It seemed he was still stuck in his past life role as the cherished son-in-law. By what right did he think he could tell me to get out? I picked up the receiver of the rotary phone and dialed the guards at the gate. "We have 2 troublemakers in the house. Please come and remove them." Nicholas and Amber looked at me as if I'd just told the funniest joke. "Remove us? We'll see who gets removed when the general gets home. You or me." He was utterly certain. In our last life, the general supported my rise to power with everything he had because he recognized my talent and ability. For me, he'll definitely kick you out. In the last life, with my father's support, Nicholas had climbed the ladder of power step by step. My father's favor meant that even the household staff and guards deferred to him. This had fed his ambition, but for him to act so high and mighty now, he must have lost his mind. When my father arrived home and took off his uniform jacket, Nicholas immediately swarmed him, acting as if my father would undoubtedly take his side. "General Wallace, you've raised a real piece of work for a daughter. She's trying to kick me out. All I asked was for her to look after a helpless orphan like Amber, and the heartless girl slapped me." My father was a traditional man who valued family harmony above all else. In our past life, whenever there was a conflict, he often urged me to be the one to back down. But now, my father just looked at Nicholas with a mixture of bewilderment and annoyance. Without even looking up, he spoke to the guards. "From now on, I don't want just any stray wandering into this house. Especially not the ones who aren't right in the head. What if Beatrice gets hurt?" Nicholas couldn't believe what he was hearing. The general who had always valued him was being so callous. He composed himself and issued a command, his tone leaving no room for argument. "You should be kicking Beatrice out of this house. Only then will I fully support you and become your right-hand man." My father actually laughed as if he couldn't believe his ears. "Sacrifice my own daughter for you? I'm a general. What makes you think I need a greenhorn who's never seen a battlefield to be my right-hand man? Don't be ridiculous. The only reason I ever let you come over was to keep Beatrice from getting bored." Nicholas was stunned by my father's attitude. "No, that's not how it's supposed to be. You're supposed to admire me, to groom me to take your place. I'm meant to be your most prized subordinate, your favorite son-in-law." My father just smiled and waved his hand, signaling the guards to drag him out. I must have been too approachable to think he'd dare to have designs on my Beatrice. How despicable. A few quiet days passed before we got a call from the Grand Continental Hotel. Someone claiming to be General Wallace's son was racking up a massive bill on our family's account. The comments went wild again. So cool. Treating the heroine to a feast of delicacies. Is this the privilege of the upper class? After the hero gets the last tin of imported Russian caviar, he's going to meet his benefactor. That caviar is his ticket to success. It's only a matter of time before he crushes the evil girl's family and uses them as a stepping stone. But wait, why is he acting like such a mooch? Putting it all on the evil girl's tab. That's so scummy. I leaned against the mahogany sideboard, a cool glass of lemonade in my hand, as I listened to the hotel manager's frantic voice over the speaker. Beside me, my father was slowly turning a deep, dangerous shade of crimson. Russian caviar? My father repeated, his voice dangerously low. A private suite with a view of the park? On my tab? Yes, General, the manager stammered. Mr. Nicholas insisted that as your heir apparent, he shouldn't be made to wait for a table. He's already ordered 3 bottles of the 45 Bordeaux. I checked the bullet comments drifting by. LMAO. Nicholas thinks he's playing GTA with a cheat code. He really thinks the General's favor is a magical aura that follows him even after he's been kicked out. Watch him try to use the caviar to bribe the Minister of Defense. That's how he met his benefactor in the last life. Mrs. Gable, I said, setting my glass down with a precise clink. Please call the military police. Tell them there's a case of identity theft and fraudulent use of government-linked accounts at the Grand Continental. And remind them that impersonating a general's son is a high-level offense. My father didn't stop me. He looked at me, a flicker of pride in his tired eyes. Identity theft. I like the sound of that, Beatrice. It's cleaner than driver's Brad acting out. When we arrived at the hotel, the scene was even more absurd than I'd imagined. Nicholas was draped across a velvet armchair, a silk napkin tucked into his collar, feeding Amber a spoonful of black pearls. Amber was wearing a first stole that I recognized. It was a showroom sample she'd clearly bullied a clerk into lending her by using my father's name. The service here has declined, General, Nicholas said, not even bothering to stand up when my father entered the suite. He just waved a diamond-encrusted spoon. I'll need you to handle the manager. He had the gall to ask for a credit card. Amber giggled, leaning into his chest. Don't be so hard on them, Nick. They don't know that in a few years, you'll be the one owning this whole block. The military police officers stood behind my father, their faces like stone. Nicholas, I said, walking to the center of the room. I picked up a piece of the Swiss chocolate he'd left on the table. My chocolate. You seem to have forgotten a very important detail about your past life success. Nicholas sneered at me. I haven't forgotten anything, Beatrice. I know every move you're going to make. You're going to try to send me to England to study. Save your breath. I'm staying right here, and I'm taking everything you have. No, I smiled, snapping the chocolate bar in half. What you've forgotten is that in your last life, you were a genius because my father gave you the answers. He gave you the connections. He gave you the reputation. You didn't rise because of your talent. You rose because the Wallace family put a cape on a stray dog and told everyone it could fly. The comments flared up. Ouch. The truth hurts. She's right, though. Nicholas wasn't a self-made man. He was a project. Wait, the MP is moving in. Are they actually going to arrest the ML? Impersonating a military official's family for financial gain, the lead MP officer stated, stepping forward. Nicholas, you're under arrest. And you, miss, he looked at Amber, are being detained for possession of stolen property. You can't do this. Amber shrieked, clutching the first stole. I'm the female lead. I'm supposed to be protected. Nicholas, do something. Nicholas scrambled to his feet, the arrogance finally cracking. General,
Tell them.
tell them who I am. My father stepped forward, his boots echoing on the marble floor. He looked at Nicholas, the boy he had fed, housed, and clothed out of a misplaced sense of charity. I know exactly who you are, my father said. You're the son of a man who served me faithfully for 20 years. A man who would be ashamed to see the monster his son has become. You didn't bring dignity to this house, Nicholas. You brought a rot. And I'm excising it. As they were dragged out of the lobby in handcuffs, Past the gawking socialites and the horrified manager, the bullet comments began to change. Is the sweet romance over? The ML is going to a military prison. There are no caviar tins in the brig. Look at the FL. She's trying to blame Nicholas already. He forced me to wear the fur. LOL. So much for eternal love. But the real kicker came a week later. Nicholas's father, the driver, came to see me. He was a humble man, his eyes red with tears. He handed me a small, locked wooden box. "Miss Beatrice," he whispered. "Nicholas, he stole this from my room before he left. I think he thought it was your father's secret ledger. He was always obsessed with finding leverage." I opened the box. Inside wasn't a ledger. It was a collection of letters. Letters from my father to Nicholas's father, dating back to when Nicholas was born. "He's a bright boy, Arthur," one letter read. "Let's give him the best tutors. Let's make sure he has every chance Beatrice has. I want them to be like siblings. If he works hard, I'll make sure he never has to worry about a thing." My father hadn't bullied Nicholas. He had been his secret benefactor from the very beginning, out of love for a loyal friend. Nicholas hadn't become powerful all on his own in the last life. He had been carried on the shoulders of the man he eventually betrayed and framed for treason. I took the box to the prison where Nicholas was awaiting trial. He looked pathetic in his gray jumpsuit, his face bruised from a fight over a bunk. I showed him the letters through the glass. "He loved you like a son, Nicholas," I said, my voice quiet. "The evil rich girl and her tyrant father spent 18 years trying to give you a future. And you chose to destroy us because you wanted to feel untouchable." Nicholas stared at the letters, his hands trembling. The reborn, memories of his grand power seemed to melt away, leaving only the reality of a boy who had bitten the hand that fed him. I thought I earned it," he choked out. "You earned this cell," I replied. "And Amber? She just took a job at a low-end diner. It turns out, without a rich girl to bully and a general to foot the bill, the female lead is just a girl who doesn't know how to work." The comments in my vision slowed down, fading into a soft, translucent white. The villainous one, but she wasn't a villain. This story is way better than the original. Can we get a sequel about Beatrice finding a real ML who doesn't have an ego problem? I walked out of the prison and into the crisp morning air. My father was waiting in the car, his own car, which he was driving himself. "Where to, Beatrice?" he asked with a smile. "The orchard, Dad," I said, sliding into the passenger seat. "I think I'd like to pick my own pears today. And let's invite Mrs. Gable. She deserves a day off from disposing of vagrants' trash." My father laughed, the heavy weight of the treason that never happened finally lifted from his shoulders. We drove away, leaving the reborn tragedy in the rearview mirror, finally writing a story that was actually worth reading.